Hi.
The people asked for it. So here we are. Giving the people what they want. Chloe's back.
I know, everyone does.
Everyone
wants me back.
Are you gonna go put on makeup for like 2 hours before we start?
Nah, I'm not too good.
Not the
I already
same.
have makeup on, actually.
If you don't know who this is, go watch our Stranger Things Season 3 review. So today we're here.
And I'm in my onesie.
Because, okay, so, it is now, what is today? November 9th? It's November 9th.
Okay.
Guess who didn't see it, Chapter 2?
Guess who's gonna rip on me for the next
And guess
hour?
what's not in theaters anymore?
Guess what?
So today...
It too. That's what she's...
It too is not in theaters anymore. So today, my fellow friends, I'm going to explain It Chapter 2 to someone who's never seen it. So you've seen It Chapter 1, correct?
Yes. If I didn't, you would kill me.
Yeah. She ships ready because I forced her to.
Yeah.
I was like, this is a thing that exists.
And
Ship
I'm like,
it. And she's
okay.
like, you right.
You right.
But fake fan because she didn't go see It Chapter 2. You haven't read the book, correct?
No.
You haven't seen the 90s miniseries, correct?
No. You know, I didn't even know what it was until you told me about it.
I mean, disappointed but not surprised. Okay, so I'm going to explain the entire plot of It Chapter 2 because I've seen it 4 times. She couldn't make it to the theater once.
Okay, I blame my boyfriend for that.
Yeah, he didn't go with her.
No. Okay, so we were going to go opening night, okay? And we came late. We came a little late.
So there was no seats left.
He's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to take you another time, just us two, don't stay with anyone else. And I'm like, okay, I will.
I waited until he asked me. He never did.
Keep your eyes open, Kaden. We're gonna come murder you in the middle.
Better watch it back, bitch.
Anyway, so It Chapter 2. It's a 3-hour film. It's very long.
3 hours?
It's literally. So we start off in Derry. Yeah?
Yes.
Wait, how does this movie start?
They've seen it 4 times. Doesn't know how the movie fucking starts.
Okay. So we open up with.
I know the person is.
Yeah.
Alright.
I don't give a shit.
I didn't know. I forget.
Fuck. Yeah.
Bitch.
Fuck. Shit. Bitch.
I got white balls.
Do you know that song?
Yes.
Wait, you do?
I got white balls.
Cool.
Fuck. Shit. Bitch.
Trash.
Okay.
So we open up in Derry, of course. So it opens up with this scene of a hate crime between 2 characters that we don't know. So there's this carnival in Derry. It's 27 years later. It's 2016. And there's this gay couple at the carnival. This guy named Adrian and the other one. Adrian's the important one. This is this guy. And so, first of all, and they draw some big parallels to Richie and Eddie in like their character traits. So right off the bat, Reddy writes. So this guy Adrian, he's big, sassy. He looks a lot like Eddie. He has asthma, lots of things. And so then he's Eddie. He's
like Eddie's
He's
reincarnation.
He's Eddie. And so then they get like bullied by these guys in the carnival who are like fucking gay.
The bullies are gay?
No.
Wait, the bullies are gay and bullying
No,
the gay kids?
they're just like,
is that
yo.
gay on gay crime?
They're just like, no, like you're gay, like get out of this town, like, because Derry's living in the 50s because they're dumb and not woke. And so they're like bullying them, and then they like chase them
It would be
down
a lot
to
more
this.
interesting if the bully was gay.
That'd be Henry
Like-
Bowers.
Huh?
Because in the book there was the scene where like Henry like gave Patrick a hand job because like he's secretly like kind of gay, and he's always like haha gay, and it's like no you big brain. Anyways, so the bullies like chase Adrian and his boyfriend
No, with
guy.
that haircut, yeah.
Right? So, and they chase them to this bridge, and then they're like, they punch them. They're like, brr. And they're like, you're gay, get out of Derry.
You're gay.
And then they get Adrian, and they like punch him, and then they throw him into the river because they're on a bridge.
Adrian?
Yeah, and so then his boyfriend's like, oh my god, Adrian. And he goes, and then he's like, finds Adrian, and who has Adrian? Pennywise. So Pennywise has scooped Adrian out of the river, and he looks at his boyfriend dead in the eye, and then he's like, nom nom, and pulls his heart out of his chest and noms it. So he just murders Adrian right in front of his boyfriend. And that's the opening scene. So starting off, swell.
That's worse than the Georgie scene.
Yeah, so it's basically to enunciate that it's like Pennywise can now hurt, like he's not afraid to kill an adult, like, so the stakes are like high.
They're adults? I thought they were kids.
No, Adrian and his boyfriend are adults.
They're adults.
Yes. Okay.
Wait, wasn't the whole thing though that Pennywise only attacks kids because they're easier?
Well, because kids are like big yummy. I don't remember if it was that like I don't remember if it was that kids taste better or adults taste better, because it might have been that adults taste better, but they were harder to scare. I don't
because they have more complicated
I don't,
fears.
and that's the whole thing with this movie. And I'm also gonna involve Matt Pat's theory because I really liked his theory.
Matt Pat.
He made a film theory video and it made a lot of sense, so I'm gonna integrate that into the intro.
That looks very sarcastic. I actually love Matt Pat.
Yeah, we stand Matt Pat. He's a
I just had a really bitchy look on my face.
And so then we open up. We get to see all the losers, how they're doing. Well, we see most of them, like 27 years later. So Bill, my least favorite, a dick. Bill. He's played by James McAvoy, which we stand. We stand James McAvoy. He's working for what? He's the guy from Split, and he was in X-Men.
Really?
Yeah, that guy. I'll put pictures here when I'm explaining this, when I edit this later. Okay. And
I put a really good-looking girl in front of my face.
Jessica Chastain.
Ugliness.
I'll put Jessica Chastain.
All right.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. So Bill is a writer. So, okay, here we think. Bill is Stephen King. Like, in this story, Bill takes the role of Stephen King. So he's a horror book writer. Nobody likes his endings. So they're getting made into a bunch of movies. And so he works at Warner Brothers, and he's making this movie at Warner Brothers, and his wife is an actor.
Warner Brothers is in a Warner Brothers film?
Yes, it's very meta. And so he's making a movie, and his wife is like an actress, and his wife acts in all of his movies, like Helena Bonham Carter and Tim Burton. And so then the guy is like, your ending's a shit. Like, you gotta write a new ending for the movie because the ending of your book was bad. But then, and then he gets in a petty argument with his wife, and it shows that he's a dick.
Okay, wait. Like, I gotta... If all of that shit happened to me when I was a kid, and I'm a horror book writer, I'm gonna talk about it.
But here's the thing, we're getting to that. They all lost their memories after they left Derry. That's the whole thing, where it's
what?
So after the whole Pennywise thing, they all kind of...
I need to shut up before I
They
talk.
all kind of left Derry, and the farther away you get from Derry... Because Mike is the one who is like the exposition who explains all
That's the one I know. That's like the one.
So Mike stays, and so he says that the farther away you get from Derry, the more like you forget. But basically, they don't remember each other. Like they don't have any recollection of their childhoods or whatever.
Oh shit!
And so
is Derry like magical or something?
Yes, Derry is curse. And then Bill, he gets a phone call and he goes outside.
Curse. That sounds
he goes outside and it's from Mike.
Like an ice cream flavor.
Derry
curse.
Patent that. Yeah, and so then he goes outside and he gets a call from Mike, and Mike's like, it's back, Bill. And then he's like, oh no, I remember. And then he's like, oh, my hand hurts. Because then he gets like the scar back from like when they did the ritual.
Put it away?
It went away. It disappeared. Ooh. Then we go to...
That's how scars were.
Then we go to Eddie, question mark? Is Eddie next? Eddie's next. So Eddie... lives in New York. He's a risk analyst, which is like such an Eddie job. And he's in a very unhappy marriage with this woman named Myra.
That's the problem. It's with the woman.
And if the Myra is played by the same actress as his mother from the first movie. Because so as to symbolize how like he was pressured into marrying a woman who is just like his mother. And so he's in this very unhappy relationship. There's this scene where he's like on the phone with her.
What's his job?
He's a risk analyst.
What is that?
So he like analyzes situations and is like, this thing is dangerous. It's so Eddie. It's so Eddie. And then he also gets the call from Mike, and Mike's like, yo. And then he gets in a car crash, and he's like, literally just like him. It's a funny thing where he's like, oh shit. Then next.
Who gets a car crash?
Eddie, because he's driving and he's on the phone with his wife, and then he's like, "Bye, mommy," and she's like, "Huh?" And she's like, "Bye, Myra." It's great. It's iconic. People think that Eddie is. I can't. We're gonna get to that.
Eddie married his mom.
That's the thing. He literally married his mom,
sad.
and they had the same actress play her, and it's like it's so brilliant. Anyways, so
wait, is he okay after the car crash?
yeah, it's just like for a funny scene. Like he's like,
oh, funny, hilarious.
this movie is a comedy. Anyways,
oh,
next.
He gets hit by a car. Ha, hilarious.
Yeah. Then Richie. Then we moved to Richie. He's on a balcony vomiting. That's how we first see Richie.
I love that.
That's
just like a whole mood.
Bill Hader is a legend. He has a rose gold iPhone. He's very gay.
That's the first sign.
Because basically, because if you look back at it, like he is like freaking the fuck out because it's right after he gets the phone call from Mike, and so like now he's just remembered that he's gay because all of his stuff was tied to trauma with Pennywise, so now he doesn't remember that he's gay because his gay awakening was Eddie, and we're gonna get to that.
Richie gay.
Well, no, he's gay for Pennywise.
The fan, I can already see the fan art.
The fan mix. No, it's because his gay awakening was Eddie, and Eddie was in the Losers Club, and so they all had to forget the Losers Club, and so it's like he just.
Then how come Eddie doesn't forget he's gay?
Because
or he does.
Wait, what? Yeah, what do you mean? No, they all do. They all forget everything. That's just
so why is he unhappy? Oh no, Richie's not in a marriage.
Yeah, he's in an unhappy marriage because.
Is Richie in a marriage?
No. Richie is single. And Richie is a stand-up comedian because he's being played by Bill Hader, so like iconic Saturday Night Live. It's great. And so he's like freaking the fuck out. All his assistants come, they're like, "Bro, you gotta be on stage in like 2 minutes." And he's like, "Okay." And he like takes a bunch of pills and drinks some alcohol and then goes on stage and he starts doing a stand-up routine. He starts doing a stand-up routine. He forgets the joke because then he gets a bunch of like flashbacks from his childhood. He's like, shit. Then we go.
Ever heard of trauma? Oh, we all have it.
Then we go to Benny Boo. Now Benny Boo is a daddy. He got a glow up. Benny was fat boy. Was chubby boy. He's hot as fuck now.
Ben?
Yeah.
Why do you call him Benny Boo?
Because I always call him Benny Boo. But he's a daddy. So he is now very rich, very successful.
Wait, are they all the same actor? Wait,
what?
No,
they're different.
They're
oh yeah,
I'm just dummy. I'm dumb.
This is already going crazy. He's hot now.
Oh hey.
Oh hey, Dad.
Oh,
there's probably a better picture, but I'm too lazy to find it. So Ben, he's very rich, very successful. He's in this big fancy house. He's the owner of an architecture company, and he's on this business phone call with these people. And he also has this little flashback thing because it turns out he has, the page in the yearbook that Beverly signed. In his that Bev signed his yearbook in the first movie. He has that page in his wallet and he like carries it around, and it's like.
So he remembers.
He does and he doesn't. Like he's like, oh, I know there was this girl that I like, but I don't know like who it is.
Oh, it's like, oh yeah, there's like this guy.
Yeah, and so then whatever. So
wait, does he own a business?
It's like Hanscom and Associates or something pretentious like that. Then he gets the phone call from Mike. Whatever. There's this really cool shot where they go upward into the stars and they zoom in and it's actually like underneath the table and you're going through a puzzle. It's weird. You'll see. It'll make sense.
So you remember the transition, but you don't remember the freaking.
Because it goes into Stan. Because then Stanny boy, Jewish rep. We love him. Fellow Jews here.
Hi.
So Stan is building a puzzle on his dining room table. His wife is like booking a fun trip on vacation. She's like, yeah, let's go on summer vacation. He gets a phone call from Mike. And then he like is clearly big panic. Like he's like explaining this to him. This is like the first scene where you kind of see like the full phone call and Stan's like, oh no, it's back. And then basically Stan kills himself. So Stan like goes upstairs to take a bath and he like slits his wrist and dies because he was the one who was always like super like I'm big scared so he didn't want to fight it. He didn't want to go back. So he killed himself.
No, that Wait a minute. Okay, wait. Wait.
I swear.
Wait.
I swear.
You're fucking telling me. Wait, okay. No. Didn't you? Does Pennywise stay in Derry?
Yeah, he comes back every 27 years, but like
He just
only
stays there?
only to Derry, yeah. And then Bev. So Bev is last. Bev is like the co-owner of this big fashion company.
Ooh,
called
fashion.
Rogan Marsh, something like that, like with her husband. And so she's like in the like their giant closet, and she's like on the phone with Mike, and she's like whispering, and she's like, oh, I don't know if I can go, I don't know if I can. And then whatever, she hangs up, she comes back into her room, and her husband's like, who were you on the phone with? Like, what the fuck? And turns out he's abusive. Great. Wonderful. She basically
like
married her dad. So it's like the same thing with Eddie, where it's like, yikes. But like, that's just Derry. Because Derry is cursed, and Derry makes all the adults be bad, is the theory.
So
but
wait, when they walk back in Derry, are they gonna be bad?
Potentially. And it's also the fact that like they're all childless, so that changes it. Like if you're a parent in Derry, you're like fucked up. You get like cursed.
Wait, they don't have children?
This was all in the book. No, none of them have kids. That's like part of
I thought Richie would have a lot.
Anyway, so then Bev's wife is like beats her up.
Bev's?
Yeah, because
wife.
he's like he hurt
Bev's wife.
Bev's husband.
Bev's
a lesbian. Lesbian rights. Because like Bev, because he's like, who the fuck were you on the like? I heard Mike. Like, who are you sleeping with? Blah blah blah. Typical.
Oh my goodness.
And then so then he beats her up, and then she like runs out of the house.
This girl needs a break.
I know, right? And so she runs out of the house, and she like leaves her wedding ring like on the thing, and she runs.
Oh shit!
Queen.
The wedding ring.
And then what happens after that? Fuck.
I don't know what happened after that. I completely forgot. I must have fallen asleep during that part of the movie.
Fuck.
Oh,
I assume that
seen it missed 4 times.
Because I think
Yeah,
it's
I'm right.
I think it's when they get to the Chinese restaurant. It's what's next, but I
I'm
could
right.
be wrong.
They're Chinese restaurant.
Yeah, they go to and it's great.
I can't. And they're all just gonna eat and be like, "Yo, so what's up?"
Literally.
Alright, guys. So my husband's abusive. Oh my god, my wife is just like my mom. Oh my god, stay.
That's how it should have gone. Okay, so they all meet up at this. They all go.
Like, everyone, where's Stan? Oh, Stan pussied out.
We're gonna get to that. So they all get back to Derry. They all meet up at this Chinese restaurant. Like Mike has made reservations there, and he's like, "Well, Bill gets there." Yeah.
Wait, why did Mike stay?
Mike stayed because we're gonna get to that. The answer to all of your questions is we're gonna get to that. So Bill shows up first, and Mike's like big excited to see him, and he's like, "Big hug, oh, best friend." And then Bill like starts to remember a couple more things, and Mike's like, "Well, that's good. Like you're remembering." And Bill's like,
"So like Mike
never forgot because he stayed in Derry, and that's why."
Why would you stay in Derry?
Because
honestly?
he wanted to defeat it. We're gonna get to that. And so then everyone shows up. Like Bev and Ben have this cute little reunion where they're like, "Oh my god, it's you!" And it plays the audio from the first movie of like, "Stay cool, new kid on the block," and it's like, oh, I cried. And then Richie shows up and he's like, "Damn, you two look amazing. What the fuck happened to me?" And it's great.
No, that's amazing.
Which is such a mood. Yeah, and so then they're like, they're having fun. They're catching up, chatting at the Chinese restaurant. They're having a good old time. There's this part.
I'm hungry for Chinese.
Wow. There's this part where Richie and Eddie are arm wrestling, and Eddie's like, "Let's take our shirts off and kiss." Eddie. One-sided, guys. What's one-sided?
Wait. Back up. I blinked and something, a lot of stuff happened as soon as I blinked.
No, they're just like hanging out, and it's like a little montage of them like doing different stuff. And there's this
wait,
part.
Wait. Okay, Chinese scene. And then they're taking their shirts off.
No,
I don't know what happened in between.
And they're arm wrestling. And Eddie's like, "Let's take our shirts off and kiss."
He says that.
Yeah, to Richie.
Richie's like, okay.
Exactly.
My car.
No.
Seriously? Yeah.
Trash.
Again, he looks like a pedophile.
Wow.
The thing is, Richie kind of looks like the toned down version of Pennywise.
Richie does?
Yeah, no, his hair.
Interesting.
No, look at his hair.
Bill Hader's hair?
No. Yeah, no, like the hair. It's like boop, 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 stoop. Like that. Like Pennywise.
Bill Hader is just coming for you.
And he has like the glasses.
Yeah, wait, here we go.
Take their shirts off and kiss.
Exactly, like what the fuck. Anyways, they get their fortune cookies. They all open the fortune cookies, and they're like, "Oh, these
I was
fortune."
in a mood.
And they're And they're like, these fortune cookies are broken. And they like show the fortunes and they have like one word on them. And they're like, what the fuck? And so then they try to like put them together like a little puzzle, and Beverly's in the corner like shaking. And they don't notice. And then they all turn to Beverly, and then she like hands them the last one, and it says Stanley on it. And so then it spells out, guess Stanley couldn't cut it. And so then it's like, oh shit, he did. And then the fortune cookies turn into little monsters. So they turn into like little bats and like eyeballs and crabs.
Wait, I thought, are they in Derry?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize the Chinese restaurant was in Derry. I was like, no, I was like...
So they all get back to Derry. They all meet up at this Chinese restaurant. Anyways, so then they're like, Mike's like, so then they all freak out. And then they all go outside and they're all like, we want to fucking dip. Like, we don't want to die. Bye. Like, we're going to leave. And Mike's like, no, stay. And they're all like, no, we're going to go get our bags and we're going to leave. So they all split up.
Bitch.
And then Mike convinces...
Wait, I'm going to head out.
It's literally it.
When Mike tells you about Pennywise, I'm gonna head out. Closers Club, bye.
Bye, bitch. Yeah, and so then he convinces Bill to like stay with him and go look at this thing. And so then they're at the townhouse.
Why does Mike want to defeat it so badly?
Because Mike has become obsessed with like Pennywise, and we'll get to that in like a second.
And like, how we're gonna get to why Mike stayed.
Yeah. So then we go
Mike is Pennywise.
That'd be a twist, but no. So then we move to the Derry library where Mike is coming with Bill, and turns out Mike lives in the Derry library. Like he lives like in the attic of the library.
Wait, I just realized the obsession from Pennywise went from Ben to Mike.
Because it was supposed to be Mike. It was Mike in the book who was the library kid, and they decided to make Mike Mr. Strong Guy and give him zero personality in the first movie. Thank you for going to my TED Talk. Anyways. He was a piece of paper. He was a piece of paper in that movie. He did nothing. I'm sorry, Chosen. You deserved better.
Mike's fear was like the most interesting fear. It was the most traumatic.
And it was different too. In the book, he was just afraid of pterodactyls. Like dead ass. I was like it didn't stand for anything. It was zero symbolism. Like he was literally just afraid of pterodactyls. Anyways, this is gonna take 1 billion hours. Oh my god, this is gonna take so. We're in like the first 20 minutes of the movie.
Sorry.
It's a 3-hour. So then they go to the library. Mike is living in the library, and so he's been doing all this research on Pennywise. And so then he was doing all this research on like this indigenous tribe that like tried to defeat Pennywise prior with this thing called the Ritual of Chud. Yeah. So he like did all this research on this ritual that this indigenous group did, and he was like, they didn't defeat it, but we can defeat it. And he has this like bucket artifact thing that he took from them, and he's like, we need to do this thing. And he gives Bill this like drug in a he gives him this drink, and it has like a drug in it so that he can like, it was the worst scene in the movie, by the way. So I'm gonna speed through this. He just like had all these hallucinations where he was like seeing all the stuff that like the indigenous tribe tried to do, and then he's like, oh my god, we gotta dumb, doesn't matter. Basically there's this ritual, and Mike thinks it's gonna help them defeat Pennywise.
Let me guess, it doesn't help.
Maybe. But that's the Matt Pat theory. That's where we're going to integrate that. Okay, so and then also he was always listening in on like the police radars and like trying to like pick up if there was like any sign of like Pennywise.
Does he have a job? Is he not a complete nutcase?
He works in the library, I think. He did in the book anyhow. In the movie I don't think he really explained that. But he lives in the library, so I assume he works in the library.
So
anyways.
He became a nutcase.
Yeah, and so then we go...
I love that.
Oh, meanwhile... Henry Bowers, the teen bully guy with the mullet. Wow. So he survived that fall down the well or whatever, and so
how?
Don't know. It literally makes no sense.
He literally hit himself like 5 times.
Literally, he slammed against those walls.
It looks like someone threw a dummy down there.
Wow. Yeah.
It's like literally. So limp.
So then there's this flashback where like he comes out of the sewer and then he goes back to his house and the cops are all there like getting his dad's body because like remember he killed his dad. And then he's like, I have to kill them all, because he's still, Pennywise brainwashed him. And so then they take him to an insane asylum. So now, like, 27 years later, he's in this insane asylum. And he, like, sees a balloon, like a red balloon outside the insane asylum. And he's like, he's back! He wants me to help again! Okay. Cut back. We're at the Derry Townhouse hotel place. And, like...
I can't deal with it.
I know. And so the other 4 are there. So, like, Richie, Eddie... Ben and Bev, so the couples.
Okay, so they're gonna all have sex.
No, unfortunately. So they're all at the townhouse, they're all like getting their bags, and Bev is like
having sex.
Oh my god, I totally forgot. There's this scene after they get out of the Chinese restaurant where Bev calls Stan's house, like his house phone, and his wife picks up and she's like, oh, like Stan died last night, because they're like, where the fuck is Stan? And then Bev, because the wife was like, oh, he died, and Bev was like in the bathtub, like before she said, like she knew how he died, and so everyone's like, what the fuck? So when they get back to the townhouse, Ben is like, how did you know that he died in the bathtub? And she was like, because I saw it. Meanwhile, Richie is like trying to get Eddie to leave, because for some reason he's persistent on leaving with Eddie. Like they're consistent, they're like, yo, we gotta go together, which like tea. And then there's this great part where he's like, Eduardo, andale. That's great.
Eduardo,
andale. Yeah, and so then Ben is like, what the fuck, like, what do you mean? And so then they come downstairs and she's like, you know, in the first movie, when she got kidnapped by Pennywise and Pennywise like opened his mouth. Wait, I have a model.
Oh my gosh.
So you know in the first movie when this bitch is like this to Beverly and then she gets her eyes all white and she like floated?
I want you to realize what you just spent your money on. A plastic clown with half its face ripped off and pee coming out of it.
It's the deadlights.
It looks like pee.
Pennywise is sad.
Mouth.
Do you remember that when she's like
Yes.
floaty? So when he did that, she saw how all of them were gonna die. So they all come back to the hotel.
Did they show that?
No. So then basically they all come back and they're like, what the fuck do you mean? And she's like, yeah. And then they're like, okay, well, fuck this. We want to go home. We'll come back in another 27 years. And she's like, we're not going to make it 20 years if we all die like how I saw it. We're going to die like soon. And then Mike's like, all right, gang, losers assemble. And they do this walk down the Derry main street road.
That's
in the tree. And so then they go into the woods. And then Mike's like...
But like, oh, wait. I know they should help, like they should help, they're good people, but I'm saying, she's like, no, we're all gonna die soon. You guys are gonna die because you guys are gonna go help defeat Pennywise. That's how you all gonna die.
No, they would die if they didn't defeat Pennywise.
Oh, because y'all are walking into
But
danger.
also, it's also about, like, overcoming their trauma. Because, like, they're still all hung up on all these things that have happened in their past. And the only way to let go of those things is to truly defeat Pennywise. And that's what we're going to get to in the next bit. So next bit, the next act.
What was all their traumas again? I know.
We'll get to that. We're very soon.
I know 2 of them.
Yeah, so then that's Act 1 of the movie. Act 2 of the movie, where they go to the woods. And they find their old clubhouse, which is now a thing this is a thing in the kids' timeline that we did not see in the first movie that is now new. So it flashes back to the scene with the kids, and basically Ben built this like underground clubhouse place in the woods where they could all...
underground clubhouse.
It's really cool, and then it's all the CGI kids because they had to use all the kids again, but they all look older now, so they had to CGI their faces and voices to make them look the same as they did in the first movie, and it's a bit whack.
Wait, what?
Like, they de-aged them. Like, you know in Civil War, when they made Robert Downey Jr. look young in that one scene, they did that with all the kids. Like, they had to, like, they made them look 12 again. And it doesn't look good.
Oh, yeah, because all the kids...
So Finn Wolfhard looks, like, really weird. I think Ben looked the worst, because they made him look fatter than he actually was, which is rude. And then Stan looks a bit weird. I thought Eddie was fine. I thought whoever did Eddie did a really good job, because I thought he looked good.
Okay, with Ben... Who knows? Maybe that little Ties man, he ate a freaking cake. Or maybe 2 cakes.
Me?
And he got just a little bit fatter. And you know what? That's fine. Because that means you can eat more cakes.
Yeah, his like, I think it was because of the height, because he was taller, and they couldn't exactly make them shorter, so like the proportions were weird, and so like it looked weird. Anyways, so then they have the scene, and this is where the first ready bit is, and the first ready bit is with the kids, and it's so good. So basically they have, she needs to prepare herself. Get your inhaler. Oh.
I'm hungry.
Me. Anyways, so there's this really cute ready bit that's like not important to the plot, but it's good for Richie's character development, where like there's this hammock in the playhouse and Richie's like lounging in the hammock, and then Eddie's like, all right, 10 minutes. And he's like, what? And he's like, we had a rule, like it's every 10 minutes. And he's like, oh my, I don't see a sign. So then Eddie gets into the hammock with Richie because like he wouldn't get out of the hammock. And so then they're like sitting in the hammock together. And
they're 12 again.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's the kids.
Oh.
So then they have the scene, and this is where the first ready bit is, and the first ready bit is with the kids, and it's so good.
I was talking about the adults. I'm like, imagining adults doing this. So funny.
No, it's with Finn and Jack. And so then Mike is like, all right, so this is what we gotta do. To do this ritual, we gotta get tokens. So y'all gotta go and split up and find a token, like an object from your past that reminds you of like a traumatic incident. And so
for Mike, a burnt hand.
No.
He's gotta go find his parents' hand.
Jesus. And so then we get a little individual scene with each of them, and it's a fun time, except for Mike for some reason. Mike is like kind of secretive in this movie, but it's kind of to reveal the twist, I guess.
No, he's Pennywise.
That'd be so funny. Like, someone write that fanfic where it's like Mike is actually Pennywise.
No, like, it makes it. Okay, okay. No, I'm about to explain this fanfic to you. So whoever
credit her on Wattpad.
Okay, anyone who makes this, credit me.
Just like probably give you your entire storyline right now. Go off. So like Mike is like telling them all, like the real Mike is dead. Pennywise killed him. Like he came back. Mm-hmm. So like he saw Mike. He's like, oh, Mike's still here, and he kills him. Takes the form of Mike and calls everyone and goes, hey, Pennywise is back. Not tagging on this shit. He's like, hey, Pennywise is back. And he like tells him this ritual and everything. And it's actually a ritual to make him stronger. Or something like that. Like, honestly, that kind of makes sense with how the movie ends. I'm not gonna lie. To do the opposite of what it's like he's gonna do. And then the reason why he's being so secretive, is because he's actually, Pennywise is actually working against him. And that's how, like, I know Pennywise is like magical in this way, like he like knew they were in the Chinese restaurant and that all was gonna happen. But I'm like, what if like, since Mike is like Pennywise, he was there, so he like kind of like was like, I'm doing all this.
But that's just a theory. A film theory.
Oh my goodness.
Anyways.
But like, it would be it would be good. It would be a huge twist too, and no one would see it coming. Except for me, because I pretty much found out.
Wow. But yeah, and so then we get an individual scene with each of them.
Okay,
so,
are you gonna tell me what
I don't remember what the order was exactly, but okay, Bev was the one in the trailer where she goes to the old lady's house, and it's like her dad's old apartment. She gets the postcard, that, like, the January embers. Your hair is winter fire. Your hair is winter fire.
I've seen that scene. It was really weird.
Yeah, and it's basically the same in the movie, but it's a bit longer. And so yeah, and then the thing turns into a giant CGI demon, and it chases her out of the house. And then turns out, and then it turns out
naked. And that was uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, and then she comes out, and it turns out the apartment building was actually abandoned. So like Pennywise had fabricated the whole thing and like made her see. It was weird. Bill goes to the pawn shop and he finds his old bike. So his bike's silver, and Stephen King is the cashier at the pawn shop. He has a great cameo where he has the book, like Bill's book is on his desk, and he's like, hey, want me to sign this for you? He's like, nah, didn't like the ending. So good. Because everyone hates Stephen King's endings. Like, for some reason, like, people hate the endings of his books, and like they usually get changed.
Did anyone
in movies.
like did the ending for this one get changed?
I mean, the turtle was taken out. So, like, in that sense.
The turtle was changed out?
Yeah, nobody likes the fucking turtle. And same with The Shining. Like, people change the ending of The Shining.
What?
Because The Shining and the book...
I've never seen The Shining.
Oh, well, in the book, like, Jack Torrance, like, sacrifices himself for his family and blows up the hotel. And in the movie, they just made him, like, go completely crazy and, like, try to kill them on purpose.
Aren't they making...
The new one came out today. Dr. Sleep came out today.
Is that a continuation?
Yeah, it's about the son, like the 5-year-old, like 30 years later.
Is that like in the book?
Yeah, I have the book. I haven't.
So it's kind of like It Part 2 and everything like that, but like
Stephen King likes doing time jumps. Yeah, but yeah, and
we
so
love
then Bill,
a time jumping queen.
So yeah, whatever. He gets the bike and then he rides to his old neighborhood and he goes to the
cherry ones. Fuck all the other ones.
And he goes to the sewer where Georgie died, and he like has this whole hallucination where he thinks he sees Georgie in the sewer. It's not fucking Georgie. He reaches in his hand and gets the boat. He gets the paper boat, which doesn't make any sense. But
is the token the boat? Or
yes.
The,
So Bev's token is the postcard.
So why did he go? Why did he go to the pawn shop and get his bike?
Because he was just walking in that direction. And he saw it in the window.
Wow. I'm like
Richie's is the most important.
Oh, okay.
So Richie's, he goes to the abandoned arcade in the movie theater. Which, if you remember in the first movie, after they got in the big fight, he was like playing Street Fighter in the arcade. So this is where it has a flashback scene. So this is where that scene takes place in that little timeline. People are confused about that. It's not that hard to comprehend. There was a part in the first movie where after they got in the fight, after the Neibolt house, they all didn't talk to each other for like a week, and there was that montage to Dear God. That's where this takes place. Mm-hmm. So he's in the arcade, and he's playing Street Fighter with this boy. with this blonde boy.
Wait, this is the flashback?
Yeah, so this is Finn Wolfhard.
Okay.
This is baby.
You need to clarify when it's flashback.
I'm sorry.
and
Well,
not.
I said flashback. He was like playing Street Fighter in the arcade. So this is where it has a flashback scene. So this is where that scene takes place. But so he's in the arcade playing Street Fighter with this boy, and then like they win, and he's like, yeah, and then like put out your hand away, and so then they high five, and then Richie goes like this.
That's the gayest thing I've ever seen in my life.
and then the boy's like, okay, and then Richie's like, we can play another game if you want. And then Henry,
Put your gay ass away.
exactly, and then Henry comes in, and turns out this boy is Henry's cousin, and he's like, and then the cousin is like, I'm not your fucking boyfriend, and everyone's like, and then Henry's like, are you trying to bone my cousin? And like starts yelling at Richie, and then he like calls him a fag, and it's like this whole thing, and so like bullies Richie, he runs out of the arcade crying.
I'm just doing this.
No, but this is important.
Hold on.
So the demons can't come haunt us.
Yeah. My room's haunted, so I have to close all the doors.
We love that.
I'm
So,
freaking shedding.
wow. Okay, and so then basically he runs out of the arcade crying, and it's very sad. And then it flashes forward back to Bill Hader, to adult Richie, and he's like crying, and he's like looking out the window. So you're like, holy shit, Richie's gay. This is like the big like review. And then it flashes back again.
Wait, does he realize he's gay? Is that, like,
Basically. I mean, he realized it after he got the phone call, because like he said
did he say it, or is it like something like you have to like figure out?
I mean, it's kind of ambiguous, but basically, so then it flashes back to baby Finn Wolfhard. He's crying in the park by himself. It's very sad, but he looks like a CGI baby, so it's kind of weird. Just like that. And then he gets randomly attacked by the giant Paul Bunyan statue in the park, and it chases him away.
Pennywise?
Yeah.
Ah.
And then back to adult Richie. So now adult Richie goes to this park.
The only important part in that was
he's gay. Like that's what which
wait, what was the thing that he got from it?
the token from the arcade. So like a physical like game token.
His token's a token.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so then now adult Richie is now in the park where he got attacked as a child. And then basically Pennywise comes back, whatever, he's like on top of the Paul Bunyan statue, and he's like, hey Richie, wanna play truth or dare? And then he's like, I know your dirty little secret, and starts taunting Richie, and Richie's like, gay panic, like fuck, he's gonna out me.
Out a queen.
And that's Richie's thing. Eddie's is also like a flashback thing, so it's baby Eddie, and he goes to the pharmacy to get his inhaler, like he does, and then he like goes into the basement of the pharmacy because he hears his mom calling for him, and like Pennywise disguises himself as his mom, and he has a whole thing with the leper again, and it's this whole thing where basically he like doesn't help his mom. It doesn't really.
He doesn't help his mom.
So then Eddie's like gets his inhaler.
Anyway,
it makes more sense when you watch it. Obviously, that's the whole point of this video.
Okay, the thing is, they make a lot of dumb ass moves. Like the way you're describing it to me, he hears his mom calling. Keep in mind, it's 20-something years later. She's probably dead.
No, in the kid part, in the flashback part, I said baby Eddie. Is also like a flashback thing, so it's baby Eddie, and he goes to the pharmacy to get his inhaler.
Said baby Eddie.
Baby Eddie. So when baby Eddie's in the pharmacy, he hears his mom.
Okay, trash that idea, but still, why on earth would you go to a basement? In the
I don't
pharmacy,
know.
And who's watching the pharmacy?
And that
Are
time,
customers not allowed to go to the pharmacy?
No, and that timeline is
in the basement?
weird because his arm is broken, but it's not signed yet, so I don't know exactly where it takes place in the timeline. It really doesn't make. We need the supercut. The director is saying that he's going to make a supercut where he's going to blend both of the movies together and film more scenes and put in all the deleted scenes to make it like a 7-hour movie, and I'm so excited.
Marathon.
Yeah, but then basically then we're back to adult Eddie. Adult Eddie does the same thing, goes back into the basement to like investigate, and then basically he encounters the leper thing again, but this time he like chokes him, and he like actually is like kind of winning for once, and then like it vomits on his face and he runs away and screams. But like he basically, that's important knowledge thing where he like kind of makes him weak for a second. Then Ben goes.
Eddie's the key to killing Pennywise.
We're gonna get to that. That's the Matt Pat theory. He enhanced
smart.
it. I mean, I feel like I've told you that any
No.
guys.
You haven't. You haven't told me the ending.
Okay.
You told me something that happens in the ending.
Okay.
But not the actual ending. I can tell you what you told me.
What'd you tell? What I tell you?
You told me that like Eddie dies. Like
Yeah, okay.
I knew that. Like I knew that.
Everyone knows that.
The thing is, that's like the one thing in the book that I read because that's what my friend was reading.
Literally,
And I was
Book Eddie is the best version of Eddie. Like, Book Eddie. Yeah.
No, that wasn't to you. I just got a hair in my mouth.
I figured, but like, yikes. And then, yeah, anyways, Ben also has a little flashback thing. So, like, he goes to the school, and he has a flashback to baby Ben when he was in some summer school class, which makes no sense because Ben was the smartest kid in the class, and he would not need to be in summer school.
Extra school.
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
No, he wanted to get smarter, so extra school.
Sure. And so then he's in the classroom, and
Kids do that.
And Bev comes in, and Bev is like chatting with him, and he's like, see, here's the thing, it doesn't make any sense with the timeline, because he's like, oh, do you think we're gonna be friends still after the fight, like after we defeat Pennywise? So it's like after Nebel, like, why is he in summer school? We're not gonna worry about it. And then Bev is like, yeah, of course, silly. And so then he like leans in for a kiss. He's like, and then she's like, what are you doing? You thought that I could love a fat, ugly kid like you? And then it's like, surprise, she's Pennywise. And so it's like, she was messing with him. And so it turns into like...
This is a young kid?
Mm-hmm. And so then Bev turns into like Fire Lady because she's like January Embers. It's kind of a dumb joke. And then chases him down the hallway. And then he's like, traps himself in his locker and he pulls out the little...
How can he fit in the locker?
It's a full-length locker. I don't know. He squeezes.
I can't. How can he fit in the locker?
They're pretty big lockers. But then, and then he takes out the yearbook page and he has this really sweet moment where he's like, Beverly would never see that. Beverly would never see that. And I'm like, you're right. She wouldn't.
That's really cute.
Yeah, and so then it's like, so then adult Ben is like, my token is the yearbook paper. Is that everyone? Yeah, because Mike doesn't have one and Stan is dead. Yeah, oh, and then speaking of Bill, when Bill gets his little boat, there's this kid. So this kid was at the Chinese restaurant and he like, there's like a joke where he was like a fan of Richie's stand-up. And so like this kid showed up earlier. And then he sees the same kid and the same kid now lives in Bill's old house.
Yeah.
And then Bill is like, if you hear anything coming from the sewers, like don't listen, don't you? And then kid's like, you hear voices in the sewers? And then he's like, I hear voices in the bathtub sometimes. And Bill's like, bitch! And he's like, literally get away from Derry, like tell your parents to move, like get out. Because then basically he has this whole hero complex where he's like, he felt like he couldn't save Georgie, so now he needs to save everyone. Yeah. So then they're there, and then Bev and Bill are freaking out, and for some reason they kiss. Like
Bev and Bill?
Yeah, it's literally so stupid. It's so dumb.
They kiss? Why?
And then there was, and before that there was a scene with Ben where she was like, it's like... She's, like, talking about the postcard, and she's like, I remember this, and she's like, Bill, and he's like... like, you can just see, he looks so sad, but it's like, you can clearly see him being like, Bill didn't write the fucking postcard, like, you're dumb as hell, you really think Bill wrote that postcard? Like, okay.
Wait, she still thinks
She still thinks it's Bill. It's so, oh my god, Bev, I can't even. Like, Bill's not even, like...
No, Ben literally goes...
Ben is
like,
a daddy. Ben is a daddy, and he has a heart of gold. Like, there's a clear winner here. Bill is a dick.
Okay, what do you have against Bill?
Okay, well, first of all, in the book, he had a whole affair with Beverly, and he had a really good relationship with his wife. And, like, that bothered me, that he just, like, cheated on her for no reason.
Because it's what? Like... He was married to Beverly?
He was married to Audra, which is the actress, like, in his movies. Like, and they had, like, a very, like, healthy, stable relationship. And then when he was in Derry, he had an affair with Bev. And it's like, Bev... left her husband because he was abusive, but it's like Bill was in a healthy relationship and he cheated on his wife, and then at the end he got back with his wife and never told her, and like that made me mad because I have zero tolerance for cheating. Also, I think he's a bad friend in also the sense of Bev, where it's like Ben liked her and he still was just like Bevy, and it's like bros before hoes, bro. I don't know. That's the thing, because, like, the movie, like, I don't mind Bill in the movie. it's just like his
Okay,
character
because
in
you show so much.
that's like a running joke on my YouTube channel that I hate Bill. Like I can't with him. Imagine standing Bill. I could never. But then also he's just an asshole. I don't know. But and then basically like so then afterwards he and Beverly like randomly kiss. And it's literally so stupid because if they had it added nothing to the story, came out of nowhere. If they had taken that out, Bill would have been completely redeemed in my eyes. Like he wouldn't have done anything shitty in the movie universe. And so it's like why? Like you still cheated on your wife. Like cool. And then there's like Pennywise does a thing again where he's like skateboard with blood, and so he's like Bill's like because the little kid that lived in his house skateboarded, and so he was like, oh my god, he's gonna kill the kid, and so then Bill runs to the carnival because that's where the kid said he was going, and so he goes to the carnival, and there's the great scene that was like kind of in the trailers. Yeah, you look comfy. There's that great scene that was like partly in the trailers where they're in like the Hall of Mirrors. And, like, the kid gets in, like, a glass box.
That's what the kid is?
And Pennywise is, like, on the other side of Bill.
Wait, okay, that's the kid that is a fan of Richie.
A fan of Richie and lives in Bill's old house.
Okay.
And so now Bill has this hero complex because that was the kid who was like, I heard voices in the bathtub. And he's like, oh my god, Pennywise is going to kill him. I got to save him.
Okay.
So Pennywise is messing with him.
I thought that was Bill's kid.
And so did I. Literally, so did I. I thought they were going to do something crazy and be like, surprise, Bill has a son. He's breaking the whole childless thing. But no, he's just a random kid. But no, and so then basically, so that it's like a glass box. Bill is on one side of the glass box. Pennywise is on the other side of the glass box. This is the scariest scene in the whole movie. I thought this was really good. So Pennywise is on one side, and he's just slamming his head against the glass, like trying to break the glass. Bill is on the other side, trying to kick the glass and trying to like break it and trying to get the kid.
And the kid's just in the middle.
The kid is in the middle. He can't get out of it. Pennywise snatches the glass, literally just eats the kid in one thing, and blood just splatters everywhere. And it's so good. It's so good. It's the best. And you can just see Bill's reflection in, like, the bloody glass, and you're like, hero complex. He couldn't save him. Like, it's such a good scene. Ooh, it's really good. Yeah, it's really, like, it's very abrupt. He was just like, chop. And it's like... It's so good. It's so good. So, Bill then comes out of the little house of mirrors and he's like crying. And then also, meanwhile, I missed a whole thing, I guess. Henry has broken out of the insane asylum, so he like runs back. And then he breaks into the townhouse, and then Eddie's in the bathroom, like, cleaning all the stuff off his face. And he, like, stabs Eddie in the cheek, and Eddie's like, and kind of, like, backs up and goes into the shower and, like, closes the curtain. And then Henry's like, the fuck? And then Eddie takes the knife out of his face and stabs Henry, and it's great. And so then Henry, like, runs away. And he's like, Meanwhile, Mike and Bill and whatever, they're, like, at the library again. And so then Henry shows up at the library, and then he tries to kill Mike again because he's racist. I don't know what else to tell you.
Keep going.
Doesn't matter.
I'm already...
Doesn't matter. And then whatever, they're at the library.
Actually, no, I got a question.
Okay.
What? So he just... Henry just breaks out of saying something. Like, the whole Eddie...
Because Pennywise breaks him out of the insane asylum.
Okay.
Like, he just, like...
So Eddie is just, like, washing off his face, and then Henry just casually stabs
Henry's like,
him in the cheek?
Yeah. Because then he's like, boy. Henry's crazy. Like, Henry's, like, once again just being controlled by Pennywise, and Pennywise is like, go fuck them up. Like, I don't know. But then he ends up in the library because he tries to kill Mike again, and then Richie stabs him in the head, and so Richie kills Henry.
Awesome, Richie. Good job.
We love him. And then, like, the others show up at the library.
I'm glad Richie did it.
Yeah. So
He needed that.
Right. We stand.
Like, fuck you for outing me.
For messing with my boy. And also bullying me and calling me gay slurs when you were gay as well. Probably.
He's like basically trying to add him.
Yeah.
He's like, hey.
Basically. And yeah, and so then the other show at the library, they're like, where the fuck is Bill? They call Bill. Bill is now out of the mirror house. And he's like, I couldn't save him. He killed him right in front of me. And then we have a parallel to the first movie where he's like, we gotta go kill him. So Bill runs to the Neibolt house. And it's the whole thing again where like the others follow him and they're like, you can't go in alone. And he's like, I need you to big fight. You know? It's like a parallel where like Bill's on the porch and the others are like in the yard and they're like, we have to fight it together.
Oh, that whole speech?
Yeah.
Where he didn't like
he's
stutter?
like, yeah. In the book, we don't stand at all.
It's the fact it's like he didn't stutter. I'm like, oh my goodness. We have a developing queen.
Yeah. And so now we're in Act 3. So Act 3, now they're in the Neibolt house. They're going to defeat Pennywise once and for all. They get fucked with in the Neibolt house a bit. So first of all, there's like a fridge and Stan's body is like in the fridge. And then Stan turns into the baby from Toy Story, from Sid's when he was like, make toy hybrids. And there was the baby head with the spider arms. Stan's head just falls off and he grows little arms and he chases them around. And it's kind of hilarious.
That sounds scary.
It's great. And then there's this whole thing where he's like, or the Stan head is like attacking Richie, and Bill's trying to get off, and he's like, and it's Bill, Eddie, and Richie in this one room, and Bill's like,
Bill,
Eddie,
Bill,
Eddie, and Richie. Bill and Reddy. So then Bill's like, Eddie, like get the knife, because there's like a knife on the floor that they dropped, and then Eddie's like in the corner, and he's like frozen with fear, and he like can't move, and then they get the thing off of him, and then Bill. Which this made me mad. Bill starts yelling at Eddie, and he's like, I can't believe you didn't do anything. Like, you could have fucking died. You could have... And Eddie's like, I couldn't. I was too scared. And until this point, there was like this until this point, there was this recurring thing where they were like, oh, Stan was the weakest link, and so that's why he died. And so now it's starting like to show the audience that like Eddie's the next weakest link is like what they're trying to get you to think, because which is it makes me really sad.
Eddie has like crackhead energy.
He really does. Movie Eddie has crackhead energy.
Yeah, no, he has crackhead energy, so he's not the weakest link because he's just a scaredy little boy that's afraid.
He just has been programmed to be afraid of everything. That's his flaw. Is that like his mother made him think that everything was dangerous, and so he's like,
But he like when he's brave, he has crackhead energy. He will kill you.
Big, strong. We love
He'll kill you.
Eddie Kaspbrak is my favorite character ever. If you're new here,
he'll cut you.
I will write a dissertation about how great Eddie Kaspbrak is.
You touch his inhaler, he'll cut you. Just gotta say.
He's like, I got the power of God and enemy on my side. He's that.
That's him.
That's Eddie.
As a fine.
Yeah. But yeah. So then eventually they make it down into the sewers, whatever, and they're like,
I don't know.
And
I don't want to know.
That's unfortunate. We gotten this far. We're in Act 3.
I don't want to know. I'm done. End of story. Good
Nope.
night. Everyone was happily ever after. Eddie and Richie live in a house, and they have 3 kittens and a dog.
Okay. And so they go into the room. So they go into a room that's below the room where they have the final battle in the first movie. So it's like there's a room underneath. Yeah, it's very deep. And then they start doing. And then they start doing the ritual of Chadin. So then he's like, put all your items in the thing. And they put all their items in the thing. And then also there's this really cute part where like Richie gives Eddie a little pep talk. Because Eddie's like, I don't know if I can do it. Like before they're climbing down. And he's like, you're braver than you think. Like you fought a killer clown when you were 12. Like you're a badass. And it's like, oh. It's really cute. We love that. We love Richie being in love with Eddie. It's great.
We love that gay right before the untimely death.
Indeed. So yeah, they do the ritual. They like put all their things in, and then like the dead lights, which are like the 3 little bulbs of matter that make up Pennywise, like come through the roof, and then they're like they do this chant, and Mike's like do this chant, and like it goes into the thing. And it doesn't work, like whatever, basically, it doesn't work. And so then the thing turns into a balloon, and it like gets really big, and then it pops, and then it's a giant Pennywise, and he's like hiding behind this thing. And he's like, you want to tell him why it didn't work, Mike? It didn't work. And so then basically Mike is like, it didn't work the first, like the ritual has never worked. And Mike is like, it's just because they didn't believe. Like, I thought if you guys believed it, that it would work. And they're like, you basically sent us in here to die, you dumb fuck. Like, you screwed us over. Like, you didn't know this was gonna work. You were just like, it'll probably work.
I don't like that.
Yeah, and so I'm like, yikes.
No, it would have been better that Mike was being controlled by Pennywise.
I don't really remember how.
Either Mike is Pennywise. Either one, I'd be fine. Ha! You know why it didn't work? Because I've been controlled by Pennywise the entire fucking time.
Yeah.
And I am turning on y'all. Boo.
Yeah. And
Sounds
so then Pennywise turns into a giant spider Pennywise, where he's basically like
spiders.
torso up, he's Pennywise, but then he has giant spider legs and he's
I love
huge.
it.
I
love having nightmares.
We love that. And so then basically then they all have one final like confrontation with their fear, which is like what Matt Pat talked about in his film theory video, which I shared on my community tab.
Wait, like the final battle when they all like were hitting
Yeah, so basically the reason that what Matt Pat said is that the reason why the ritual didn't work is because they didn't actually overcome any of their fears when they got their tokens. Like how Richie was still afraid of being gay, and Bev was still afraid of her dad, and Bill still felt guilty about Georgie. They didn't overcome anything. They just got these tokens. And so that's why it hypothetically didn't work. But now they have these like final confrontations with their fears where like they actually confront what's happening. So like Bev and Ben have this really awesome like visual scene where like they're in this like corridor, and then they get like pulled backwards and everything turns upside down, and then Bev's like in a bathroom stall because you know like in the first movie she was getting bullied in the bathroom stall, and
It's
so
really cute in that scene.
yeah, and then so the whole stall fills up with blood and she's like drowning in blood, and then like her dad and like other bullies and stuff are like banging against the doors and like trying to get in. Meanwhile, she's like upside down and Ben is like right side up. They're like parallel. It's super cool. And so Ben is meanwhile like getting buried alive in the clubhouse. And then Pennywise does this whole thing where he's like, oh, you're gonna die alone. You're gonna die alone. And then like the whole thing is like at the end they like reach out to each other and like pull each other out. And it's basically Bev like overcoming the whole thing of like
growing up.
Yeah, and like the fear of her dad and like not accepting love, how it's like she got into another abusive relationship because she didn't like feel herself was worthy.
I thought that like the whole blood thing was like her period.
Well, yeah, it was because like becoming a woman and having her dad like see her in a sexual way, because as far as we're concerned he was sexually assaulting her. Like we don't know for sure, but like that was, I feel like, the vibe they were trying to communicate.
It definitely was,
because like the part where in the first movie where he like throws her on the ground and it's like he's like, I like my thought was like he's done this before, and this was her being like stop. So it's so it's the kind of thing where it's like she was like realizing her worth and was like, I accept your love. And then the same with Ben, where he was like, I'm tired of like hiding my feelings and being sheltered and being buried by my past. And so it's like whatever. And they're like, January embers, oh my god, it was you. And then they like almost kiss and they don't. Yeah. Meanwhile, Bill, he is now in his basement like of his house, and it's like, you know, like the flooded basement from the first movie. And there's this really cool thing where it's like old Bill is in the water and like kid Bill is on the stairs. So it's like they're both in the same scene and it's really cool.
Wait,
Like
did they all get split up and confront? Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, is this all happening in one area?
Well, yes, but no. Yeah, they're all split up. And so then basically it's like Georgie like comes out of the water, and then he's like, basically what happens is he's like, tell him, Bill, like tell him why you didn't go. And basically in the first movie he was pretending to be sick. He wasn't actually sick. So when Georgie was like, come play outside with me, he's like, oh, I can't, I'm sick. And then he was like, tell him why you didn't really. And he's like, I just didn't want to play with you. And it's like,
wait, the older Bill?
Yeah.
Or the younger Bill said?
No, older Bill, like finally like confronts it. He's like, I just didn't want to play. And so that's why he feels so responsible, because he didn't actually have a reason to not. And if he had gone outside with him, he would have lived. And it's like, ooh, like I don't like Bill, but like I feel that so hard. Like that's so sad. And so then basically, then it's him like confronting his past self, and then he has to like shoot the young version of him with like the gun, like the sheep gun thing, and it's like, so he finally like is at peace because he's now told the truth, and it's like, oh, it's so good. And then
that's what it was.
And it's so
That's
sad.
what
Like
he was
now,
afraid of?
like now, yeah, because
I thought he was just traumatized by his brother's death.
but then also because he felt responsible for it. And so, like, and it's so weird, like,
No,
going back and watching the first movie, because his cough is so fake. He's like, I'm sick. And I'm like, wow, we're dumb as hell. Like, he was...
But, like, I felt like he felt responsible as in, like older siblings feel, like, responsible for their younger siblings.
No, it was because, like, he didn't go and play with them. Like, he was like... Because Jordy's like, are you sure you can't come outside, Bill? And he's like, I can't, I'm dying. He's like, you're not dying. But yeah, just in that kind of sense. He wasn't actually responsible. Like, it wasn't his fault. But it's that kind of thing where he's like, he felt like it was his fault. And then Richie and Eddie's is interesting.
How was he supposed to know that they felt that he was going to die that day? I don't know.
Exactly. You don't. But then it's like, that's what happened. Like, you feel like it's your fault, even though it's not. And then Richie and Eddie's is interesting. Because Richie and Eddie's doesn't actually happen until later. But they have this whole scene where they have, like, the scary, very scary, not scary at all doors. And so then, like, they go to he's like, no, it's not scary at all. And it's a closet. And I loved that so much. It's a closet. And it has, like, clothes hanging in it. And I'm like, oh, dear. Because you're scared to come out of the closet. And then, whatever.
Not scary at all? Like, why would they think they're not scary at all?
Because it's reverse. Like, he thought, like, oh, reverse. That's this, like...
Wouldn't
sorry, it was very scary, whatever.
I was like, wouldn't it be very scary?
I'm losing my mind. It's, what time is it? 1:48. Which, shout out to you. You know who you are for making this fan art. And then so then they go to the other one, and it's not scary at all, as a Pomeranian. And they're like, oh my god, like, they're like, oh, good boy, like, he's so cute. And then it turns into a monster.
Yeah, that's gonna ruin Pomeranians.
So now it's like a headcanon in the Reddy fandom that, like, they have a pet Pomeranian together, and it's funny. Good boy. And then he's like, it's so good.
He's like, oh, you think I'm cute? Look at this.
It's literally a comedy. Like, this movie is a comedy. It's so funny.
Okay, wait, then the very...
And then,
so that's not scary at all.
They didn't go. The not scary at all is the Pomeranian, and the very scary is the closet. Just like,
oh no, the closet. You guys both have to get out of it.
Exactly, one-sided, guys. Richie is the only one who's gay. The source material is the other way. That's what dumb people are saying, that, like, it was one-sided, and I'm like, you're dumb. You're literally, you're dumb. He wears rainbow shorts. Like, you're stupid.
Yeah.
But anyway, so then they run back to the battle. And then basically...
What do you mean that doesn't happen until later?
Next. So then Richie comes out, and, like, Pennywise is attacking them, and he's like, hey, you sloppy bitch, look over here. And he, like, throws shit at it. And he's like, you're a piece of shit. And then Pennywise opens his mouth, and he, like, deadlights Richie. And so then Richie's all like... And he's, like, unconscious, like Bev was in the first movie, and he, like, goes and floats. And so then Eddie comes over to him, and he's like, Richie! And then he has this spear thing in his hand that Bev gave him earlier when she was, like, being all scared. And she was like, this thing kills monsters. And he's like, it does? And she was like, yeah, if you think it does. He was like, okay. So he has this...
When did that happen?
Like, right before they went down into the very bottom room. Like, after the whole thing happened, when he was all scared. And so then he's like... okay, and so then he's like, if you think it does, and then he, like, throws it at Pennywise, and it, like, stabs Pennywise, and then he drops Richie, so he saves Richie. And he's like, oh my god, and he, like, goes over to Richie, and he's like, I did it! And then Pennywise's fucking spider arm comes out from behind him and just stabs him in the stomach. He's, like, right over Richie. Like, he's like, oh, I did it, like, I killed him, I got him, and then death. And so then it's so sad.
It happens like that?
And it's like, he's not dead yet, but, like, he stabs him, and then Richie's just like... And so then they're like, oh my god, and Richie's, like, freaking the fuck out, and so they, like, drag him into this corner thing, and he's like, oh my god, and then so then Richie is like, okay, and there's this whole symbolism with his jacket, okay, so Richie is wearing this jacket throughout the whole movie. It's like, and he's always has his hands in his pockets, because it's like, oh, of him being, like, reserved and, like, hiding his sexuality and stuff, and then he doesn't take off this jacket until this thing happens with Eddie, and then he takes off his jacket and he uses it to, like, stop Eddie's blood, and then underneath he has, like, this really colorful shirt, and, like, I really like that symbolism. So then Eddie's, like, bleeding to death, and then they have this revelation where they're like, wait a second, Pennywise is, like, Godzilla size right now, but the entrance to this cavern is very tiny, so he must have shrunk down to get down into this cavern. So what if we make him think that he's small? Because now they have this whole idea of like, if you think it does something, then it can do it. Because if you see it, you can believe. So Richie like brings Eddie's body over the corner, and he's like staying. He ain't going nowhere. Like he's staying with Eddie. Like he's like, my boy is dying. It's great. And so then the others are like, they go over and then they start bullying Pennywise to death. They go over and they're like, you're nothing but a stupid clown. Like, you're dumb. You're just a gnome. You're just a gnome. Like, you're just a G. And they're like chasing him, and then it's starting to work. And so they're like cornering him into like this corner. Obviously, they're cornering him. And then Richie's like looking over and like, oh, this is right. Okay. So then he's like looking back and forwards at Eddie, and he gets like big mad. He's like, and he goes over to Pennywise and he rips off one of his spider arms, and it's like, which is bad. He like rips off Pennywise's arm, and then he helps them, and he's like, "You stupid, you dumb." Pennywise like shrinks down into a little baby, and he's like real tiny. He's like, and so then they like reach into his Pennywise chest, and they take out his heart, and then they all crush his heart. They like put their hands together, and they're like, squeeze, and he's finally dead.
Like once upon a time.
Literally, I was just thinking that. Yeah, and they're like squish, and now Pennywise is like actually dead for good. And then Richie's like, Eddie! And he's like, oh shit! And they like run back over to Eddie. Eddie is dead. So, in between...
I thought Eddie died in Richie's arms.
Well, basically, in between that time when he was like, trying to keep alive, and then he's like, fuck this clown. And he goes over, by the time he comes back, he's dead. And so then Richie's like, no, like, he's gonna be fine. And then Bev is like, Richie. Because, like, she saw everyone die. And she's like, Richie, like, he's gone. And then he just bursts into tears and is, like, cradling Eddie. And, like, oh my god, it's awful. Because then, like, basically the place starts falling apart. Like, the cavern they're in. And they're like, bro, like, we gotta go. And he's like, no, we gotta help Eddie. Like, we can't leave Eddie. And he's, like, clinging to Eddie. And they have to drag him out of the sewer and drag him all the way back to the surface. And even when they get back and the house is, like, falling apart, he's, like, trying to break away from them. And he's just, like, screaming for Eddie. And it's heartbreaking. I have never cried so much in my life.
I'm trying not to cry.
And then, so right after that, they go to the quarry, you know, where then they all, like, jump into the quarry. And they're all, like, swimming in the quarry, trying to get all the grime and stuff off their clothes. And Rick's just kind of, like, in the corner, and he's, like, being really quiet. And then he's just sort of, like...
For the first time in his life?
Mm-hmm. And so then he, like, picks up his glasses, and he kind of, like, looks at the glasses, and there's, like, some blood on the glasses. And then it turns to, like, Ben and Bev, and Ben's like, you know, Eddie would have hated this. And Bev's like, what? He's like, all the germs in this lake. He would have been talking about how we're gonna get this disease and this. And they're like, right, Richie? And they turn to Richie, and Richie's just, like, sobbing. And they all go over to him and just hug him, and it's like a parallel to the scene in the first movie after, like, Bill finds the raincoat, and they all just, like, come around and hug him, and I'm wrecked. And it's because once he looked at the glasses, the blood on his glasses was Eddie's. So that was, like, the literal last piece of Eddie he had left was this blood on his glasses. Like, I want to fucking kill him. And then, so then they go back. No, it's almost done. We're almost done.
No. Just give me a minute.
And so,
Stop. Just give me a minute.
I love that you haven't even seen it, and just like my explanation is bringing you to tears.
Just give me a minute.
I told you weren't ready. R-E-D-D-I-E, ready.
Oh, no. You did not need to hit me with that hard shit. I did not sign up for this.
I'm not okay.
I did not sign up for this hard fucking drama. And I definitely this hard fucking shit.
Meanwhile, look at this cute little tin I got. Look into my unboxing. Yo, when the fuck was Pennywise in a Jack in the Box? Like, deadass, I've been trying to figure it out. And
He was in there.
literally when? Anyways.
Stop.
So they go back to the town center.
Okay.
Anyways, so then they go back to the town center, and they're like all standing in front of like this window to the shop, and they all look into the reflection, and the reflection is them as kids, and Eddie and Stan are there. And it's like, and so then there's like this flashback scene of like them as kids, like right after the battle in the first movie, when they're like, oh my god, and Eddie's like, my mom's gonna kill me, I'm all dirty and stuff, and it's... And then that's like done, and then it like does like a little time jump, and then like Bill is on like back home, and he's on the phone with Mike, and Mike's like, oh, like, did you get the card or the letter? And Bill's like, what letter? And he's like, we all got one, like, you'll know it when you see it. And he goes through his mail, and he gets this letter from Stan's wife, and basically Stan wrote like suicide notes for all of the losers and like sent them each one. And so the last bit of the movie is, which this gets me, they did this in fucking Stranger Things too, like montages where the overlaying narration is a letter from a dead person. I can't deal. So it's like Stan, like it's Stan's voice, and he's basically like, I knew I wasn't strong enough to do this, and so I had to take myself out of the equation, because if I was alive and I didn't go, then you wouldn't have defeated Pennywise. And he's like, did it work? And it's like really sad. And then there's this part where he's like, be who you want to be and be proud. And there's this scene, which I forgot to say this earlier in the movie, but it doesn't really matter, where there's a scene earlier where there's a little montage with the kids, and Richie like goes to the kissing bridge, which is like where
he cuts Eddie and his
like
name.
where, yeah, so he goes and it's like R+, and you can't see what the other letter is, because
It
like
is E.
yes. And so then at the end of the movie, when it says that line, when it's like, oh, be who you want to be and be proud, it's Richie at the kissing bridge, and it's you see like a faded E, and he goes in and recarves in the E, because now he's like fully accepting his love for Eddie. And it's like, bitches canon. And that's the end of the movie. That's it, chapter 2, everybody. Same.
Okay. That was great.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
It was so enjoyable.
Oh, and Matt Pat's actual theory. So his actual theory was like I said, where it was like overcoming the real fears. So Richie's actual token was Eddie. And so Eddie needed to be sacrificed in order for them to win. Because that was him overcoming his fear of being gay. And so like by accepting like this is the person I love, and by giving them up, they won. It's so sad. And then also, like, Eddie had overcome his fear, because now he had finally, like, confronted the fact that it's, like, where his mother, like, made him think that everything was dangerous. And it's, like, he took a risk and, like, threw the thing at Pennywise to save Richie. And so, like, it was... We won, guys. It's canon. It really is.
Yeah, but it was a canon.
But at what cost?
It wasn't fucking canon for long. The thing is, it happens a lot where shows hint at these relationships, take a long ass time for them to actually get together, and we go through all these flirting, almost get together situations, literally things that are meant to tease the hell out of us. Be like, oh, they like each other. Oh, they don't. Oh, they do. Oh, they don't. Oh, this person gets a girlfriend. Oh, this person gets a boyfriend, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that, and then they finally get together, and then something happens, and we don't get to enjoy it.
Right. No, and it's really sad, because it's like...
Or they just never get together.
Right, because like he never got to tell him. Like, that's what's so sad about it, is like... You didn't know me to tell me that. Because like they're... very flirty characters, and it's like I always say that if Eddie was a girl, no one would bat an eye. Like everyone would be like, oh yeah, like obviously Richie likes him, like obviously whatever, because that's how their characters are, like that's how they interact. It's a very typical like schoolboy, like oh if he makes fun of you then he likes you trope. And it's like the fact that they're both boys is what people have a problem with. So it's like y'all act like you ain't homophobic and then you say Reddy ain't real. So
I am emotionally drained.
So thank you for coming.
I'm about to cry.
I feel like this video is going to be like an hour long, and I apologize because you've all probably seen It Chapter 2, and you're going to be like, I don't care. But
You can see my reactions.
yeah, and I told you I'd give you more ready content.
And more meat.
Yeah, and more funny.
You can see my reactions to this.
Yeah.
And I haven't even seen it.
She hasn't even actually seen it. It comes out
No,
pretty soon.
Watch me freaking see it, and my eyes are gonna be faucets.
November 19th is the digital release, same day as the digital release of The Goldfinch, so I'm going to be wrecked on the 19th. But anywho, thank you for watching. Comment, like, and subscribe. Turn on my notification bell because I don't have an uploading schedule, so if you want to know when I upload a video, do that. Comment, because I answer all my comments and my DMs and stuff on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram. Follow Chloe on Instagram.
Hi.
Do you have a private account or is it a public account?
Just
Okay.
I have a
Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this hot mess of a video. Bye!